The Northeast, Regional Aspirations in India, means. This heading introduces the topic of regional aspirations in the northeastern part of India. It refers to the demands, concerns, and expectations of people living in this region, often related to identity, autonomy, development, and political rights. The Northeast consists of 7 states, also known as the Seven Sisters. It has only about 4% of India's population but covers a much larger share of area. This means that the northeastern region of India is made up of 7 states, commonly called the Seven Sisters. Although this region has only about 4% of the total population of India, it occupies a relatively large geographical area compared to its population size. The region is connected to the rest of India by a narrow corridor of about 22 km. It shares international borders with China, Myanmar, and Bangladesh. It acts as India's gateway to Southeast Asia. This means that the northeastern region is linked to the rest of India through a very narrow strip of land, about 22 kilometers wide, often called the Siliguri Corridor. The region also shares borders with countries like China, Myanmar, and Bangladesh, making it strategically important. Because of its location, it serves as a gateway for India to connect and develop relations with Southeast Asian countries. The region has long international borders. There is weak communication and connectivity with the rest of India. These factors have made the political situation sensitive and complex. This means that the northeastern region shares long borders with several neighboring countries, which creates security and administrative challenges. Additionally, poor transport and communication links with the rest of India make development and coordination difficult. Together, these factors have made the political situation in the region delicate, complicated, and sometimes unstable. 3 major issues dominate the politics of the Northeast. 1. Demands for autonomy. 2. Movements for secession. 3. Opposition to outsiders, especially illegal immigrants. This means that the politics of the northeastern region is mainly influenced by 3 important issues. First, many groups demand autonomy, which means more self-governing powers for their regions. Second, some groups have movements for secession, meaning they want to separate from India and form independent states. Third, there is strong opposition to outsiders, particularly illegal immigrants, as people fear threats to their culture, identity, and resources. Movements for autonomy. At the time of independence, the whole area except Manipur and Tripura was called Assam, in which many linguistic tribal groups lived. These communities demanded separate states to preserve their uniqueness and cultural identity. This means that at the time of India's independence, most of the northeastern region, except Manipur and Tripura, was part of Assam. This region was home to many different tribal groups with their own languages and cultures. To protect their unique identity and traditions, these communities demanded separate states so they could govern themselves and preserve their cultural heritage. Secessionist movements. Mizoram. This separatist movement emerged after the Assam government failed to manage the famine that came in the hill region of Assam in 1959. In 1966, the Mizo National Front, MNF, led an armed campaign under the leadership of Laldenga. A peace agreement between Rajiv Gandhi and Laldenga was signed and Mizoram became a full state. This means that in Mizoram, a separatist movement began when people became unhappy with the Assam government's failure to handle the 1959 famine. This led to dissatisfaction and demands for separation. In 1966, the Mizo National Front, MNF, led by Laldenga, started an armed movement against the government. Later, a peace agreement was signed between Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi and Laldenga, which brought an end to the conflict. As a result, Mizoram was granted full statehood, restoring peace and stability in the region. Nagaland. A section of Nagas declared independence from India way back in 1951. FIZO turned down many offers of negotiated settlement. The Naga National Council, NNC, launched an armed struggle for sovereignty of Nagas. After a period of violent insurgency, a section of Nagaland signed an agreement with the government of India, but this was not acceptable to other rebels. The problem in Nagaland still awaits a final resolution. This means that in Nagaland, some groups of Nagas demanded independence from India as early as 1951. Their leader, FIZO, rejected several peace offers from the government. As a result, the Naga National Council, NNC, started an armed struggle to achieve sovereignty. Although some groups later agreed to a settlement with the government of India, other rebel groups did not accept it. Therefore, the issue in Nagaland has not been fully resolved and continues to remain a challenge. Movements against outsiders. The large-scale migration into the northeast gave rise to a special kind of problem that pitted the local communities against people who were seen as outsiders or migrants. This issue has taken political and sometimes violent form in many states of the northeast. The Assam movement from 1979 to 1985 is the best example of such movement against outsiders. In 1979, the All Assam Students Union, ASU, a student group not affiliated to any political party, led an anti-foreigner movement. This means that heavy migration into the northeastern region created tensions between local people and those considered outsiders or migrants. The locals feared threats to their culture, identity, and resources. As a result, this issue became political and sometimes led to violence in several states. A major example is the Assam movement, Ek No Sat No, Ek No Aat Panch, during which the All Assam Students Union, ASU, an independent student organization, led protests against illegal immigrants. Movements against outsiders. The movement was against illegal migration, domination of Bengalis and other outsiders, and against faulty voter registers that included the names of lakhs of immigrants. The movement demanded that all outsiders who had entered the state after 1951 should be sent back. Eventually, after 6 years of turmoil, the Rajiv Gandhi-led government entered into negotiations with the ASU leaders, leading to the signing of the Assam Accord in 1985, but it did not fully solve the problem of immigration. The issue of outsiders continues to be a live issue in the politics of Assam and many other places in the northeast. This means that the movement in Assam was mainly against illegal immigration and the growing influence of outsiders, especially Bengalis. People also protested against errors in voter lists that included many immigrants. The demand was to identify and send back those who entered after 1951. After years of protests and unrest, the government held talks with ASU and signed the Assam Accord in 1985. However, the issue of immigration was not completely resolved and still remains an important political issue in Assam and other parts of the northeast. Dravidian movement. This was one of the first regional movements in Indian politics. Some sections of this movement had ambitions of creating a Dravid nation, but the movement did not take to arms. It used democratic means like public debates and the electoral platform to achieve its ends. The Dravidian movement led to the formation of Dravid Kazhagam, DK, under the leadership of Tamil social reformer E.V. Ramaswamy Periya. This means that the Dravidian movement was among the earliest regional movements in India. While some groups initially wanted a separate Dravid nation, the movement remained peaceful and did not use violence. Instead, it followed democratic methods such as discussions, public debates, and elections to achieve its goals. This movement resulted in the formation of Dravid Kazhagam, DK, led by social reformer E.V. Ramaswamy Periya, who played a key role in promoting social justice and regional identity. Dravidian movement. The organization strongly opposed Brahmin dominance and promoted regional pride against the political, economic, and cultural domination of the north. Initially, the Dravidian movement spoke for the whole of South India, however, lack of support from other states limited it to Tamil Nadu. The DK split, and the political legacy of the movement was transferred to the DMK, Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam. Later, the DMK split into two parties, the DMK and the All India Anna DMK, AIADMK, both claiming the Dravidian legacy. Both these parties have dominated politics in Tamil Nadu for the last 4 decades. This means that the Dravidian movement opposed the dominance of Brahmins and promoted the identity and pride of the southern region, especially against the influence of North India. Although it initially aimed to represent all of South India, it became limited to Tamil Nadu due to lack of wider support. Over time, the original organization DK split, and its political ideas continued through the DMK. Later, the DMK also split into two major parties, DMK and AIADMK. Both parties have been very influential and have dominated the political scene in Tamil Nadu for many years. Sikkim merger. At the time of independence, Sikkim was a protectorate state of India. It meant that while it was not a part of India, it was also not a fully sovereign country. Sikkim's defense and foreign relations were looked after by India, while the power of internal administration was with the Chogyal, Sikkim's monarch. The Chogyal monarchy was unable to deal with the democratic aspirations of the people. An overwhelming majority of Sikkim's population was Nepali, but the Chogyal was seen as continuing the rule of a small elite from the minority Lepcha Bhutia community. This means that after independence, Sikkim had a special status as a protectorate of India. India controlled its defense and foreign affairs, while the local king, Chogyal, managed internal matters. However, the monarchy could not meet the growing demand of the people for democracy. Most of the population was of Nepali origin, but power remained in the hands of a small minority group, which created dissatisfaction and led to demands for political change. Sikkim merger. The anti-Chogyal leaders of both the communities sought and got support from the Government of India. The Sikkim Assembly first sought the status of an associate state and then, in April 1975, passed a resolution asking for full integration with India. This was followed by a hurriedly organized referendum that gave popular approval to the Assembly's request. The Indian Parliament accepted this request immediately, and Sikkim became the 22nd state of the Indian Union. This means that leaders opposing the Chogyal monarchy from different communities in Sikkim took support from the Government of India. The Sikkim Assembly initially asked for a closer relationship with India and later demanded complete merger. In April 1975, a resolution was passed for full integration, and a referendum was conducted where people supported this decision. After this, the Indian Parliament quickly accepted the request, and Sikkim officially became the 22nd state of India. Goa. Although the British Empire in India came to an end in 1947, Portugal refused to withdraw from the territories of Goa, Diu, and Daman, which were under its colonial rule since the 16th century. After India's independence, the Indian government tried patiently to persuade the Portuguese government to leave. There was also a strong popular movement within Goa for freedom, supported by socialist satyagrahis from Maharashtra. Finally, in December 1961, the Government of India sent the army, which liberated these territories after 2 days of action. Goa, Diu, and Daman then became a union territory. This means that even after India became independent in 1947, Portugal did not give up control over Goa, Diu, and Daman. The Indian government initially tried to resolve the issue peacefully through discussions. At the same time, people in Goa started a freedom movement, supported by activists from nearby regions. When peaceful efforts failed, India used military action in December 1961 to free these areas. After liberation, Goa, Diu, and Daman were made a union territory of India. In January 1967, the central government held a special opinion poll in Goa asking people to decide if they wanted to be part of Maharashtra or remain separate. A referendum-like procedure was used to ascertain the people's wishes on this issue. The majority voted in favor of remaining outside Maharashtra. Thus, Goa continued as a union territory. Finally, in 1987, Goa became a state of the Indian Union. This means that in January 1967, the Government of India conducted a special vote in Goa to understand whether people wanted to merge with Maharashtra or remain separate. A referendum-like process was used to know the public opinion, and most people chose to remain separate from Maharashtra. As a result, Goa continued as a union territory. Later, in 1987, Goa was granted full statehood and became a state of India. Lessons learned from regional aspirations that have emerged since independence. Regional aspirations are an integral part of democratic politics. Instead of suppressing regional aspirations, it is better to adopt democratic dialogue. Understanding the importance of power sharing, it is not sufficient to have a formal democratic structure. Groups and parties from the region need to be given a share in power at the state level. This means that regional aspirations are a natural and important part of a democratic system. Rather than trying to control or suppress such demands, governments should address them through discussion and dialogue. It also highlights that democracy is not just about having institutions, but also about ensuring that different regional groups and political parties are given proper representation and participation in power at the state level. Controlling regional imbalances. Regional imbalance in economic development contributes to the feeling of regional discrimination. Finally, these cases make us appreciate the farsightedness of the makers of our constitution in dealing with questions of diversity. The federal system adopted by India is a flexible arrangement. Politics in India has succeeded in accepting regionalism as part and parcel of democratic politics. This means that unequal economic development between regions can create a sense of discrimination among people, which may lead to regional tensions. These situations highlight the wisdom of the constitution makers, who designed a system capable of managing diversity. It also means that India's federal system is flexible and has been able to accommodate regional aspirations, treating regionalism as a normal and important aspect of democratic politics.